and welcome back to the Book and Life podcast. Today we're going to have a brand new book guest on. Whether they're an author, an editor, a producer, you'll never quite know, so you're in for one hell of a ride. But today I just have to do the adverts and then I'll get us straight into that most important conversation. And as we do every week, I'm going to read The Shadow, which is part of the Time Guardian series, and this is book 4 from Marianne Curley. The battle is over, the war is won. The prophecy complete, but life can't just pick up where it left off for Ethan, struggling to cope with tragic loss. At odds with friends in the guard, he finds himself adrift, jumping in shadows and sensing someone who can't possibly be there. Blaming herself for the goddess Athena's death, Giselle swears revenge, to vilify the Immortals' plan for world domination. But Giselle hadn't planned on love, and that leaves her with an unbearable choice. Should she follow her heart, or the strings of a goddess short on praise but high on expectation, who continues to pull her from the grave? As the Guard and the Order battle through the past and into an impossible future, darkness lurks round every corner. The fight for the world's survival rests with just one. Is it friend or foe who stands in the shadow? And just a reminder that The Price of Freedom by Rosemary Rowan, is being donated to the Ukraine refugee crisis. And here's the blurb for her book. It's one of her Roman British crime series, which was written under her maiden name. All editions can be found online where all books are sold, even her agents donating her commission. Sorry, I don't have the blurb for that, but that's what she's doing. And now, without further ado, let's get you to the guests. So I promised you guys a surprise, and I could not think of anyone better than the one that we're bringing on today. Fantasy queen, intelligent, pretty, you can't beat a better British rose than this. So without further ado, please everyone welcome Sarah.
Hi, I wasn't expecting that intro.
I do this though to everybody, so don't worry about it. My director, my director friend, he totally gets flustered every time he comes on the show because I do the same to him, and then he's like, oh, I don't know what to say now, and you can see his eyes just get huge, and he's like panicking, you know. So yeah, I do it to everybody. It's kind of like a rite of passage, so to say.
Cool. Well, you definitely got me with it, so I'm happy with that.
Well, at least I said your name right, so.
Yeah, definitely.
I did that yesterday. I screwed up somebody's name. I was definitely. I practiced it with my American friends, and then they were like, "No, that's not even close." And I'm like, "God." So yeah, I do try though. I do try. People don't think I try on this show, but I actually do. I do try. So tell us about your book, because you've got one coming out in October, you thought, or did I get that
yeah, hopefully September, October. So basically it's the second volume of a 15-volume series that I started writing in lockdown back in 2020, amazingly. The best way I can describe it is it's basically a series that it focuses on a cute but psycho killer maid who's cleaning up the mean streets of Newcastle using a razor broom and anything else household that she can get. It's very different from what I previously wrote, but very fun because of that. And yeah, very cyberpunky, very, if you're from Newcastle upon Tyne, which I am, or nearby, you'll recognise a lot of the places, a lot of the scenarios.
But that's a good thing, because like all of us put all like parts of us in to the stories. And I think, like, no matter where we've been or the places we've seen or the places we've traveled to, like, it's our experiences goes in. And that's what makes the story feel more realistic, and you connect to it more.
Yeah. It was good fun creating it. It was like choosing all the locations and like working out how to get from one place to another, and then be like, right, hang on, which way is this going to go around in it, like in a place that's like I know, but it's like several thousand years later, with
Yeah,
all this neon
exactly.
lights and Blade Runner style, and like, what am I doing to myself?
I know
But
that
it's
feeling when I do my stuff. I'm like, oh, what did I just sign myself up for? Oh, you know,
yeah,
like that awkwardness that you get when you're just like, oh, for God's sakes.
yeah. Or 9 times out of 10, it's more like, right, I've got to this point. How do I get to the next point? Oh, wait, co-writer. What do I do with this?
That
Like,
is exactly what I say to mine. Like
yeah,
I will email Joe a question and I'll be like, so Joe, I've written this scene, but I'm stuck now. I've written myself in a corner. What do I do? And he laughs at me and he goes, right, you went off the cliff crystal into the ocean. I'm just gonna like pull you back up, put you back on the road, and then we'll continue on from there, shall we?
yeah, yeah.
So
I
yeah,
was
but
like
I
getting like
would not be
messaging
able to
Bert.
do. Yeah, I couldn't do a big series without him. Honestly couldn't.
Yeah. Well, like this was like my first like challenge to myself to actually do a big-ish series.
Yeah,
So it was very new ground for me. It was like I'd always wrote like fantasy and like supernatural and that sort of stuff before. So going
yeah,
into cyberpunk, it was a bit like I know what the genre is. I've followed the 80s movies. I know all that lot. It's got the anime references and stuff. At times it was just like, uh, Kurt, how am I supposed to kill this guy with a broom?
yep, yeah. Those are the kind of
Literally.
questions I ask too. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Where
Or I'd be
mine's is
like,
all like because I'm putting wrestling scenes in the book because a lot of
mm,
stuff like happens at the wrestling shows. I'll be like to him, so if a girl gets felt up in the backstage area and it's kind of noticed, what do they do? And then they have to kind of like, and then it's like, okay, so we're gonna tell you, but it stays behind this wall and you can't tell people. And I'm like, okay. And then I have to kind of come up with a creative way of writing it down without exposing the secrets. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm so yeah. It's a
Yeah, I can
challenge.
imagine
It's
that
a
one.
very good challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I enjoy it.
And
I
it's good.
really do.
It's good fun. It's also just like trying to work out, like, can like, right, am I going a bit too Geordie? Am I excluding people? Nah, I'm not. Oh, is this reference? Does it make sense to you? Is anyone else going to get this reference? Because there's a lot of homages in it.
Well, I mean,
Hands
that's a good thing
down,
because
it.
you're using your accent, you're using your history to set kind of the world feel to it, and I think
Yeah.
that's really important because like I had the same feelings like when I was doing my fantasy that comes out on September the 30th. It's my first one of 8, so like I
Ooh.
actually need to go write number 2. Actually, it's on my list, but yeah, I told you the other list that I'm on, so I'm like jumping between 2
Yeah.
lists at the moment. So yeah, like I had to set the entire scene, and it was like I literally said to Joe, I'm like, "Do you think I can get away with Welsh in this?" And he's like, "Well, isn't the witches Welsh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're Welsh." And he wasn't co-writing this with me; he was just talking to me as a friend. And so I
Yeah.
ended up putting the Welsh stuff in, but it does it like it adds that kind of layer, you know, that connection layer for other people, but it
Yeah.
also gives like the general reader that idea of what it would sound like and what it would feel like.
Yeah. I had fun doing that. It was more like just trying to get the balance between like not going into like too grand specifics, but also like trying to work in
Yeah,
like well, basically one of the best ones I do try to work in. It's not in a volume that's coming out anytime soon. I basically was trying to work out how to get Jurassic Park into it without copywriting myself too much. And I kind of managed it,
yeah,
and I sent it to
that
Kurt,
could be
and
difficult.
yeah. It's like it's very vague references. It's like if you think you know this, you do. And I had the greatest fun like writing that section, sending it to Kurt, and be like, "Can you work out where this is from?" And he was like, thankfully he knew me. He was just like, is it this one or this one?" I was like, "Yeah, thank you."
I like that because like
Yes.
movie references is part of our pulp culture. It's part of our culture. So like it kind of grounds people as well, because then they're like, and it adds to the world effect, because then they take whatever they've taken from the movie and it comes in, and you can sort of bounce off of it. I think that's really an awesome idea, and I keep encouraging writers like who listen to this show, don't be scared to like just push the boundaries out and see where it goes, and don't be scared to like just run with things, you know.
Yeah, so the best piece of advice I got given when I was in my early years of writing, when back in uni, back in the day, I can't remember who said it to me. It bugs me to this day who said it, but I always remember it was always be a fan. And at the time, I was just like a bit like when I first heard that. But it's like, always be a fan of your work, be a fan of other people's works, be a fan of the wider world of works and all that lot. Because as much as writers, yes, we like our originality, we like things to be amazing and wonderful and new, there is always going to be that element that is, we are fans. We writers are typically known as vagabonds, stealers, backstabbers, and all that lot.
Con artists.
So we will take stories, we will rewrite them in our own way, we'll change up the styles, and as long as you're a fan and as long as you're aware of it and not trying to claim it, I think it just makes it a lot better, because it's just like you can sit there and go, oh, I recognize that reference, sneaky one, like it.
So like I mean, I feel like that every time that I'm doing mine, because there's little tiny references that only wrestling fans will get, but every normal reader of the contemporary fiction will be like, oh, the drama's amazing. And then I've got wrestling fans that are doing like the elbow thing, going, we know what you did there, like we saw it, you know. And I'm like, shh, don't tell the wrestler, you know. Like I'm sure the wrestlers know, like I'm sure they're like, oh, Crystal's at it again, but you know.
It's like in my very first book, there's a reference I put in that was deliberate, that no one's ever picked up on, because I keep quite quiet with how it happened. But it's a reference to the TV show that was the original inspiration for the original fan fiction I wrote for that book.
Oh, right, cool.
Yeah, so it's a one-off throwaway line of like, aren't you supposed to be watching this TV show? And it's actually the TV show that was originally the cause of me writing the Blood book eventually in the end, because it started off life as a fan fiction.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. I still write fan fiction to this day. I love it.
I love fan fiction. Like, I would have never gotten into writing if I hadn't been like a fan of what I love. Like, I literally grew up with like somebody throwing me like educational DVDs on writing and like world creations. Like I was so lucky that my best friend at the time was so into one particular performer. Because they would come in with DVDs and they would just throw these DVDs at me. And I was usually too sick to argue with them, so I'd be like, okay, and I'd put it on. And then I would listen to this guy talk for like 2-3 hours. You know, and he would tell me about character development and world creation and 3D and how you gotta have flaws and how you gotta be a good guy and you gotta have a bad. And he literally probably over the course of like 10 years taught me how to be a really good writer. And then I was just like, I had 19 and I'm like, I've got to do this for like, this is what I have to do. Like I'd won 2 writing contests at that point. I'm like, no, I'm going to go into publishing. I don't want this to just be like a weird hobby that I do. And my husband was even like, how could you put all these stuff together? Like where does all this come from? And still to this day, he looks at me and he goes, where the hell do you get this stuff? But it's like, you should know, like, just as well as I do, is like, you know, we walk around the world and we're soaking stuff in all the time.
Yep.
And then it's like, it's just weird to me, you know, like, it's not weird, but you get that kind of feeling of like, that kind of,
the basic way I always think of it is it's like I'm sitting in a room playing with my imaginary friends and not being locked up in an insane asylum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very brutal way to put it, but I had arguments with people and at some point I said that to someone and they were just like, we are not doing that. I'm like, yes, we are.
We are doing it though. It's true. Like, you know, because like you create these people that are technically better than people you know, and you run with it. Like, that's the whole thing. That's the whole experience.
Yep.
And I love it because like I create the world that I kind of want to be involved in. Or if I'm going through a fantasy stage, and I think we all go through fantasy stages.
Yep. Currently doing one myself.
Yeah, but you go through it and you kind of like say, "Oh, I could really add something," because in Britain we have mythology everywhere. It's
Yep.
literally
All over the place.
everywhere. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that's the thing. I grew up in the Shetland Islands where Vikings and Viking mythology is drilled into you from the minute you take your first breath. So, of course, one of my first fantasy series was based on Viking mythology. It was a little bit ambitious because I was trying to create 3 worlds running at one time. Um, Boy, did I learn some lessons from that one. But I learned that I could still do fantasy because everywhere you go in the UK, it's like you get hit with magic all the time. There's nowhere that there isn't a haunted house. There's nowhere there's not, you know, suspicions of something. Like it's everywhere, everywhere.
I must admit, for me, it's great because I live in the northeast of England, and I've been brought up
Yep.
there. So it's like literally, I'm like, I'm like 20 odd minutes away from castles, like in virtually every other direction. Because obviously there's Newcastle, there's
Yeah.
Alnwick, there's Warkworth, Chillingham, which went to the other day and did a ghost hunt on, and that was fun.
It
That
is
was really
fun.
fun.
Like people think it's weird, but it's actually fun.
It's even more fun because I was what in the industry of the whole ghosting thing. I'm described as sensitive, so I pick up spirit energy really easily.
Yeah.
And yeah, Cheltenham Castle, holy heck, they are not lying when they say that that place is filled. It is. That
Yeah,
was
but
really
then
fun.
if you think about all the history and stuff that went down there,
Oh yeah,
it would be impossible for it not to be.
yeah. But yeah, I had some fun in Cheltenham Castle. Freaked out one poor guy who thought I was just being a bit over dramatic for things, and then we went into one of the rooms
Yeah.
right at the top. Um, and literally I'm sitting
And
there
then you were
and
like, "Oh shit, okay, yeah."
well, no, I started shaking, like completely uncontrolled shaking. And I was doing a little bit, and Mum was like, "Do you want to get out?" I was like, "Oh no, I'll be fine." And they did the tipping table thing. And there was a lass sitting next to me who had one of the spirit conductor the things that look like they're from Ghostbusters, that was going off. And
Yeah.
my mum turned to me, and I was literally shaking as if I was having a seizure, but I wasn't. I was completely coherent. And Mum was like, "Right, we're getting you out of here now." I was like, "Yeah, please." Took us 10 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, that one was fun. Don't know what the hell was in there, but
It's yeah, it's like weird because like in Shetland, it's just like being on the edge of the world because
I
everywhere
can
you
imagine.
look is ocean.
Yeah,
And if you walk through like you'll know with the moors, but like we've got peat hills, and it's just like if you step in the wrong place, you start sinking. So it's
yeah,
almost like that spookiness of walking across, and it feels like you're in Wuthering Heights, except for you're in the very north of Scotland. It's very, very windy, usually very, very rainy, and you're
yeah.
like, I'm just trying to get home. I don't want to be bothered. And I've known so many people that have seen ghosts, who've seen random men walking out of like the ocean, just
Yeah.
up the cliffs and stuff, and they'd never come back. They like, we had psychics up there once and they flipped and they wouldn't leave their hotel room for a week
Oh wow.
because it was like they would not leave till their ticket for the boat was ready so they could leave because the Viking energy apparently was just off the chain.
I can
Um,
imagine.
and Shetland's really known for smuggling as well. So there's all these
Mm.
smuggle tunnels and there's all this other stuff that goes on there. And the problem is everyone forgot where the smuggle tunnels were, so we've had random floor collapsings in shops where tunnels are under.
Wow.
So that's been going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Shetland is one of the most beautiful places you'll ever see, but it's also the spookiest of places you'll ever go.
Yeah. Oh
Especially when
wow.
you come in, like as you come into the islands,
Mm.
all the buildings rise out of the ocean. They're
Yeah.
actually built into the sea. And it's just
Wow.
that kind of, you get that energy of, I've walked into a Viking camp
Yeah.
It's like you have that feel of, oh crap. I love it.
Yeah.
But I can see why it's a little intimidating for the tourists.
Yeah, definitely. But I suppose that's the thing of like Britain, because a lot of people kind of go, "Oh, Britain's small; it doesn't really have anything." It's like it does if you know how to look for it, or you can just take yourself out the city and just suddenly be in the middle of the countryside very quickly. And people go, "That's not possible." It's like, no, it's generally any city or any town in the UK. You go like 20 minutes in one direction, you will be in the middle of a field. I can virtually guarantee you.
Oh God,
Excluding London. London's a bit trickier. London definitely a bit trickier.
Not just a little bit trickier. It's like a whole fucking like I went to London. I went to London in 1995, and I have never been back.
Oh wow, I'm weird because like, well, I'm not weird. Well, I am weird. I'm a writer. But no,
we're all weird if we're writers. If you're writers, you're just weird. Like, let's get rid of that idea right now.
Yeah. It's like you're a writer. Yeah, you're in the weirdo club. Hi. Anyway, because I like adapt really well to places really quickly.
Same.
So it's like it's really funny that because I started going to London like by myself when I was like 16 to 18. And literally for a period of my life, I was going there like every year, at least once a year. I've still got my Oyster card in my purse because like I infrequently go. And it's really funny because it's like I can go to London and have people asking me directions as if I'm like, because I apparently make myself look like I live and work in London, and I'm like, I'm from the northeast. Sorry, I can sometimes, most time, I can actually direct people to where they need to go as well, which is like, what the hell?
It is weird when you can do that because, like, I've done it, and I'm from Shetland, but I stayed in Glasgow for a decade, and it's so funny because, like, I don't have a Glaswegian accent at all. But if I'm in the city centre, the amount of people that will stop me and go, "You look like you're from here. Where's such and such?" My geography is the worst.
Yeah.
Except I can get them to where they're going in the city, but if they ask me for outside the city, no chance. No. It goes really wrong really quickly. And it's the other thing that I do, which really annoys my husband, is I have a tendency to say, "Oh, it's only 10 minutes in the car," and he goes, "It's 35 minutes in the car." And I go, "Oh, but it won't take long. It'll take us an hour." It takes me an hour to get you there and an hour for me to drive home. You know, like you just wasted 4 hours of my day. You know, like things like that. Like he just gets super kind of like, he's just like, oh, she has no concept of time or travel or,
my parents like to say that I've got the directional sense of a fish.
I'm the same. You put me in the ocean, I'm fine. I can find my way. But you put me on dry land, and I'm like, is that north or is that south or am I going east?
Yeah, it's like it was quite funny when I started doing conventions back a few years ago. It was either my birthday or Christmas, I can't remember which one. My parents literally bought me a sat nav just like, Sarah, we know what you like. Here's a sat nav. Use it to get to conventions. So I have Sally Sat Nav that whinges at me when I'm going the wrong way. Because yes, I name inanimate objects because that's half the spice of life.
It is, and I think it's so funny because for me, I have it on my phone. So like I always wear headphones. Everyone, if you spot me or you recognize me, I have white headphones on, and so I will have the sat nav and it'll stop my music to tell me a direction. So I have it set up so that I don't even have to take it out of my pocket for it to tell me. And I'm like, thank God I do, because the amount of times I've gotten lost just going to somewhere that's really simple is insane. Absolutely insane. My husband's only now starting to trust me to take myself places and not get lost.
I usually like to explore to like kind of like work out where things are and stuff in my own head, so I can like get visual landmarks of like.
I do the same, but he always worries I get lost, and then I'm like phoning him, going, "I'm on such and such a street, and I have no freaking clue how to get home."
I was like,
So yeah.
if I'm in a city I don't know, or a town I don't know, I'll have Google Maps out just to like wander myself back to where my hotel is normally. Though when I'm conventioning, I'm normally like, I finish the convention, food, bed.
Yeah, but you need to do that though at conventions, because conventions are so frigging tiring.
Oh yeah, it's good fun. Actually, it's really funny. In September, I've got like 3 back to back.
Oh, you're gonna be
2 I'm dreading
dead.
out. One
You're gonna be dead.
even
I'm gonna be
better.
bringing you the coffee in September just to keep you going. Like, I'll be
Please
handing you the
do.
cup, being like, "You're okay. Like, you're still alive. Don't worry about it." Like, I'll come from a signing and I'll be all done up, and then I'll hand you the coffee, and you'll be like, "Who are you?" You know?
Oh no! Correction. It'll be my artist friend Kat who'll be like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "Oh, this is the last I was talking to on the podcast." I've done that to
be fair, I've been called worse, so you know.
It's quite funny because me and Kat, Kat's my artist for Dark Princessa. We've been friends. She's been trading on the circuit for ages by herself, and it was really funny getting back into conventions because I stopped for a little while due to COVID, and then changing jobs and working out.
COVID destroyed everything. Yeah,
it did. So it's been really funny, like kind of like me getting back in, because she's got trader friends who are different to my trader friends, because I was more trader table, because I found out Sally didn't work for me really for author. Weirdly, in a lot of cases, so I mainly went traders. So it's really funny that occasionally we'd go to events and I'd start talking to someone. She's like, "Who's this?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is such and such from this one," because it's normally a trader friend I haven't seen in like 2-3 years. So
that's so much like me when I walk through a romance convention and there's like every 5 steps I meet somebody and they have to have a 15-minute, and this is me just checking in. This is me just trying to get to the check-in desk, you know, and I'm like, "Hi!" 5-minute conversation. Got to get to the room.
Yeah, it was like last year. Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
I went to one of the big events in Newcastle, big anime event, and I was just going as an attendee because I was working full time. So I only went for the Sunday, and literally my mate was chatting on with us, and I got to trade a floor, talk to one vendor who I hadn't seen, talk to the next vendor, He walked off and left me for about an hour and a half because I was just talking to all the vendors, because mainly they were going, "Why aren't you here? Like, why aren't you trading?" I'm like, "Because I've got a new job and I couldn't get in on the trading schedule."
Yeah, no, but it's like that, because when we do signings and we do panels and we do conventions and stuff, it is, as an author, it's insane because you get given a schedule and they don't care about your other life. Like, it's just, this is what you're signing up for the next 3 days. And it's like, they schedule in food, they schedule in where you have to be, when you have to be. And you honestly, you feel like it's a military operation. And conventions are just the same way. Like, I've gone to a couple of wrestling conventions and I don't know how the wrestlers do it, because they do panels, they do talks, they do wrestling seminars, and then they wrestle. And there's the signings and photographs and appearances and all that in there too. And I'm like, guys, like, I thought it was bad just doing a fucking book signing. Never mind what you guys do. You know? So I have bad respect for them, because I just don't have the patience.
Definitely, like, full-time guests, I'm like, how the hell you do it? Because, like, I'm just mainly I just, like, get a trader table, I have my books, and I'm just, like, kind of like, "Come and get my books, please," and, like, "Who's the author?" "Hi, I'm signing right here."
Yeah, like, and you know, when I do the talks and stuff, I kind of freak out, because in my head, I forget the entire story after it's written. I always get that one fan that studied it. And I'm oh my. And you're trying so hard to remember all the details, and you're like, I should have fucking read this before I came. Like, you have that kind of notion in your head. You're like, oh god.
Yep.
Yeah, I had that in my first book tour, my first ever book tour, and my co-author didn't make it, and I had to. So I was balancing wrestling fans who were disappointed, and then I was balancing real readers who wanted to buy it and get to know me. Oh my gosh, that was like the hardest juggling act I've ever had to do. Like, oh my gosh. But saying that, I sold out in every store but 2 that we went to. I, like, everywhere I went, 20 books went off the shelf. And I just kept doing it like that. Like, I felt a bit like a
Right.
used car salesman, like, you know, had in the book up and like doing the whole sign thing. But it worked because people came and they would say, right, okay, we'll buy it, but you have to sign it. And I would sign it. They go to the checkout, they pay for it, and then they leave. And it was just absolute mental. Like, I wish my co-author had been there because we probably would have, like, it would have been so much fun. We'd have had such a laugh. But yeah, like,
Yeah.
that was my first tour. That was in 2014 we did that. And it was just insane. Like, we did
Yeah.
8 cities in 2 days.
Bloody hell.
Yeah,
I've never quite done a book tour or anything like that. Yeah, but I'm like, I do the conventions. I enjoy them. That's where I've got. And it's always fun, like having people come back to your stall and be like, "Right, where's the new stuff?
Yep.
Have you written anything new? Why don't you have anything new yet?" And I'm just like, "It's coming."
Yeah, like you
So
totally like, have to think of excuses, and they're like, yeah, I'm right. I'm there with
like,
you, but now I can actually safely say to people, there will be a new book every month for the next 3 years, and I am guaranteeing that.
You're insane for that. I mean, like, kudos to getting it, but like, still, you're like, oh, my head would explode. My head would absolutely.
I did feel like that to begin with, and then I was like, I made my editor's head explode. So now it's not so bad because like I have a nice stack, and every so often when she emails me, I just send her something off the stack, and then she's like, yeah. But when she starts actually locking me into the series, I will, I'll be in trouble.
Yeah, I must admit, it's like kind of like because I'm not on deadlines or anything at the moment. I'm just kind of like I've obviously got new projects on the go.
Yeah.
So I'm just like poddling away with that at the moment and just having fun with them, whilst the Dark Mage is underway because that's already written. It's been edited, and then my editor friend's been wrangled into it and just be like, kind of like, yeah, here we go, just do this for me, please, every so often.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've just started learning about street teams. Like, this is a whole new thing for me. And
street teams?
Yes, so street teams are people who go on Instagram and TikTok and all these social medias, and they make funny little videos about your book. So they promote your book, and then they get their friends to do them, and then they kind of do these comical kind of things, and that's how they start spreading. And I had no clue what any of this was, and I am like playing catch up a year later. Like, what? But see, if you've got people that do like cosplay and stuff, they usually love doing all that kind of stuff, especially if it's fantasy based. And if you can talk like a couple of them into it, then you can get street team going, and then the street team starts posting all these like they'll do little scenes from your books and stuff, you know, and it really pushes it, and it's really interesting. Like, it's something I never thought of, you know, like I thought, oh, I'll start a podcast, that'll be good for my book sales or whatever. And of course I didn't have any clue about how much work it would take or what I was getting myself into. So I'm still learning, and I've been doing this since 2009. So that's our tip for the day. Writers are never not learning something.
Oh yeah, there's loads to learn. Like I tried to do like a book talk kind of thing to kind of work, and I'm hopeless with social media. I am generally hopeless with social media. Everyone goes, oh, but you have loads of time, you should be able to do it brilliantly. And it's like, yeah, unfortunately, in my job that pays my wage at the moment is I'm an outdoor activity instructor. That means I can work anywhere from 8 to 12 hours with a bunch of kids, hauling them up ropes, dragging them through obstacle courses, taking them into nature, getting them all listening to my stories about trees and bees and bugs and all this really cool stuff. And then when I get back in, I'm either knackered or I'm like, right, I should really try and write, but I can't be bothered because I've got to do this, that, and the other because I need this adult and sort out stuff. And it's like, sometimes I'm just like,
it's hard. It's hard to be
videos.
Yeah, but it's hard to be a writer who's not full time, who has a day job. Like, I have major props for writers like that because I was that 2 years ago. I was like a learning support teacher. I was writing an hour in the car before work. I was writing in an hour in the car on my way home. Plus, I was just started university, and honestly, like, I think I ignored my husband for a year. Like, thank God he drove me to work every day, because otherwise I don't think I'd have had a conversation with him. But it was like that. Like, it's not easy, and it's only because I kind of hit in with the right group of people that I'm able to do this full time. But you still have that worry of, oh my God, I don't feel like doing it today. I want to sit and game all day, or I want to clean the house, or because writers naturally, we procrastinate until somebody lights a fuse under our ass, and then we finish.
Yeah.
And then we go, okay, we need to get this shit done. Like, it's just part of our human nature. And I hate having to be the motivator. If there's a project and I'm working with somebody, I hate them being the motivator. But I will do the motivating if I think we're gonna like totally overshoot it. But yeah, no, it's really not easy to do this. Like, I say this all the time. Like, if you've got a full-time job, it is really hard to do. And you have to be so passionate about it. You have to really love it, and you have to really push hard to actually do it. And I think anyone that does, and anyone that does publish and does do the conventions and does do the circuits, I'm in awe of people like that. Like, 100% in awe. So I take my hat off to you, even though I'm not wearing one.
Yeah. It's been a thing that, like, this year I've been really, like, getting myself back on track with stuff. Because, like, the last couple of years, COVID, well, obviously I wrote Dark Princess during COVID, and then edited it before I started the apprenticeship that got me where I am currently now. So it took me a while to, like, get myself sorted out, work out how the hell I was going to fit writing in, and all that lot. So it is a balancing act, and particularly because I'm not fixed hours, which was a real, like, change up for me.
Yeah.
Because previously I'd always been fixed hours because I was an admin. So I was always like, kind of like, I would work this time, and then I'd be off these evenings. I had the weekends off, so it was a lot easier. Now it's like, I can work 7 days a week. I can work 12-hour days, like, quite frequently.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just literally don't have time to actually write at all these days.
And that's where the mad respect I have for you comes in, because I know it's not easy. Like, I mean, I was saying to you what my schedule was like before we started the show, and you looked at me as if to say, holy, like, you just suddenly realized, like, yeah. And I was like saying to you, like, I have to have everything on a timer system, because if I don't know what I'm doing 1 to 2, 3 to 4, like, I would never get anything done, and then when I have to bring other writers in who are not schedulers, and then I have to be like, right, this is our schedule and we have to stick to it. They scratch their heads and go, but I'm too busy for that. And I'm like, no, you're not. This is how it works, like, you have to be super. I hate that. Like, I feel like I've become mom, where I'm like, it's 1 o'clock, we have to have lunch, like, you just have to kind of go with it,
It's normally quite interesting because, like I said, Kat, my artist, will occasionally, like, be bugging me, particularly when she's after artwork for, like, the newer volumes.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, kind of like, because we've discovered that I have a thing of, like, not fully describing clothes and stuff, because, like, I don't want to be spending too much description time.
Yeah.
But I have to remember when I'm doing the spreadsheet for her for the artwork to actually put the clothes in, because as we discovered, a tight-fitting top can mean several different things. Does it mean a polo neck? Does it mean a V-neck? Does it mean this? That's that?
Does it mean a crop top? Does she have her navel on show? Does she have her boobs nearly hanging out? I totally get that. I totally get
You're
that.
going to murder me. Sorry, Kat.
But no, it's true. Like, I was doing, a friend of mine was going to get me a contract to do a fantasy comic.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a Scooby about how much description you actually need to put into that, because you need to tell them what it looks like in order for the artist to draw it, unless the artist knows you really well or knows the characters really well.
Yeah.
But once you get to that point, when they really know the characters well, they don't have to ask you that, because they just naturally know what you're going with. But yeah, I totally get it. Like, I have this argument with film directors. Like, I don't want to sit and think about every item of clothing a character wears from scene to scene, but I understand when it comes to the the production script itself, I have to put all the description in of like clothes and are they carrying accessories? What accessories do they have? Like, what car are they driving? What kind of car are they driving? Like, the research part, I never thought anything about, and now I'm learning, oh shit, this is like another month of like stuff I've got to do now that I didn't anticipate having to do, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. Well, it's like for me, it was like originally I started off like my writing career like wanting to be a script writer.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of like a lot of my classes and things like that were focused on script writing and like how you use the dialogue to effectively tell your story without show not tell. But then also having the descriptions in the thing, but not going too descriptive, and so that was a little bit of a pain. So it's like it's one of the things of like whenever I'm writing actual books now, I always still have that slight scriptwriter mentality in my head.
Yeah.
Of like, am I showing too much? Am I making presumptions too much?
Yeah.
Or
did I put enough context in?
Have I overdone the clothes description? Is it boring? Is it interesting? Is it significant? No, it's fine. I've got myself sorted out with that. Though I do have to love my mum's favourite quote, because I gave it to my editor, Boo, and my mum's first. So I was talking to my mum about it. I was like, "Oh yeah, Boo's got me edit, so she's going to have a look at it."
Yeah.
And her first comment was, "Have you removed the and things list?" And I'm like, "Yes, I went through and checked that, ma'am, because one of my early things that used there we go, say it. One of my early tricks when I was first writing was to write." Instead of like writing out a list of like there were bottles and potions and books and I used to go and things.
Yes.
Forget to put it in the brackets.
Yeah.
So I would never go back to edit it.
I've done that too. Yeah, I've been like cars and things.
Yeah. I can't be asked to write it unless it's a specific wordplay.
Have you done it with people yet, where you put there's a crowd of people and they're wearing things? Because I've done that.
I haven't quite done that.
I've done that.
The closest I think I've done to that is if there's lots of people, I'll just be like, kind of like the crowd or something like that. I'll like, unless there's like a specific person in the middle of the crowd or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, like thankfully as well, so like, I used to do a lot of forum-based role playing.
Yeah.
Where I used to like write stories that way, so that got me out of the habit of doing it, because obviously other role players needed to know where my character was, what my character was doing, and how I hopefully wanted them to interact.
Yes.
And that works. There were some people who I absolutely worked brilliantly with that, because you would really click, and there was others who were a pain in the arse for that, and you were just like sitting there.
Oh, I know.
And they were like, "You follow on sentences are really annoying." I'm like, "Yeah, because I don't know how your character's going to react."
Yes, I've been there. Yeah, I've been there. I used to write the dance stuff. Like when I was a performer, I used to write the dance stuff, and it was like I was there when all these characters were created, but as the industry grew and as the trend grew, I had like 50 napkins. I would take 50 napkins and I would put the name of each character on top of the napkins, and then I would give them the bullet points for the night, and then I'd tell them to go away, and they would come up in a line. Like, I would be sitting at the end of the bar with the hood up so nobody could recognize me. Then I got a pen and I got a drink and I'm sipping away on the drink and I'm like planning the whole story. The amount of people that would come back to me with, "But my character wouldn't do that," was absolutely ridiculous. Like, everybody did it at least once, and I would have to say the same thing to every single one of them. Shut up. I know your character. I can think like you. I can even do you. So please go away. And then I would have to get myself ready, and then I would have to try and forget everything I've written for everybody else so that I could write my own stuff and hope to hell I didn't forget it. You know, because that was like, it was improv reaction, and it was like an improv reacting and reacting kind of dance style. So,
oh wow,
you know, you're doing Lapache, which is a very physical dance style, but you're also adding in the showdowns in the middle of the floor. You're doing jumps off of DJ booths and off bars and off platforms, and you have to be like, in my head when I go in to do it, I have to clear my mind completely because I need to know where where's the crowd? Where's my dance partner? Where's the guy that I'm dancing against or the girl I'm dancing against? Like you have to map it in your brain, but you have to be looking and listening all the time. So your brain can't think. And as a dyslexic person, your brain wants to think about everything else but what you actually need to do. So it's very, very, very difficult.
Yeah,
and
shout out to Team
as dyslexic writers, we understand this. But it also means we're a hell of a good at multitasking.
Yeah, like the number of times I've like, my friends get annoyed at me because I'll sit there and it's like, I'm typing on my document, I've got music in the background because I've always got to have music in the background to make me focus on me writing. And then I've got a drink on the side. I've got my phone. I'm only allowed to like touch it if I'm getting towards the end because I set myself daily word counts because if
I have to have daily word counts. You know why I have to have daily word counts.
Yeah. I understand why you do.
Yeah.
I find that like generally for a writing session, I only do like an hour or two max.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm like working all the time. Yeah. So I've got myself, plus I blame NaNoWriMo. Completely blame NaNoWriMo. Absolutely fantastic thing. If you do it, brilliant.
I love it. I use it all the time. Yeah, I'm with you, girl.
Yeah. Like literally, I haven't done it properly in years just because I haven't had time for it.
Nobody does. Nobody does. You can't do the 50,000 words in a month now. It's impossible.
I have done it before. I've managed it a couple of times.
I've done it 4 years straight, and that's simply because I tell everybody in the month of November to disappear till I have done it, and then I reappear in December, and everyone's like, "So, did you complete it?" Because I have to just like push it so hard, and I haven't done it in a really long time. Well, uni kind of killed that for me.
Yeah. It's one of the things I keep dibbling back in and out of it, but just full-time job, no.
Yeah, it's not possible a full-time job. But it is such a helpful software, like such a helpful website, because it does make you go, shit, did I do my word count for today? Oh, when was the last time I checked in to do said word count? Yeah.
And plus, can I get in the habit of writing just that 1,666 words?
Yeah.
That generally is what I always aspire to. So I'm like a bit flexible on it now because I'm just like, I can't always write that much, or if I write over, sorry, I write over. But just because I can do that roughly in an hour now. Just practice. So having just that word count goal, and even if it's absolute trash, it's still just I'll write between I normally try to do like 800 to 1,600 as an average. Sometimes I'll go above, sometimes I'll go below, particularly if I'm I'm just not feeling it, I won't do it. But I found that really helped me when I was first starting, because it gets you in the habit. It's just like, you don't have to take an entire day to write. I'm like, kudos to people who do have to write every single day and write 9 to 5. I'm like, go for it, enjoy it. For me, I'm just like that.
I can tell you the amount of times I have to. The amount of times I'll get up, and then I get up about 7, and I say, right, okay, I will speak to my friends for 2 hours. But what's happening now is they've all got different jobs, so they're all on different times. So when they're on during the when they're not on during the morning, I cram my writing in, and then I spend some time with them in the afternoon. Or if they're on in the morning, I will cram everything into the morning, and then I'll work all afternoon. So it really depends. And then also I always have my husband to sort of factor in. He gets me at night when I'm not writing anything, because I can't write anything. Yeah. Because you have to have that time where you switch off, because if you don't, you burn out. And that's what I'm trying to teach people now, because I did it to myself. I've burnt myself out, so I understand it is totally possible to do it. But yeah, I mean, kudos to you though for even getting the 1,600 words like that. I have mad respect for that. And you know exactly what I take on every year. So yeah.
Yeah. It was actually quite funny because obviously we've been working particularly during some months, it does get very busy at my job because summer holidays, yay! So we get
yay for teachers, not yay for you.
Like that. So it's quite funny. Well, it's great. We get teachers coming in all the time. It's I get a shout on to them as well. So it's quite fun exchanging that kind of knowledge as well, because it's being an instructor is very different to being a teacher, because it's like, obviously I'm not trying to teach them like maths or something like that, but I'm trying to teach them life skills that they can use later in life that they won't realize they're learning yet. So I've
and they give you that weird look as if to say, why the hell do I need to learn this? Yep.
Most
Been
kids
there,
are
got
fine.
the t-shirt. Yep.
It's actually quite fun, particularly because because on the centre I'm at the moment, up Hexham Way, I'm known as kind of like the naturey one, because I've got the extensive training in the nature sessions, which is like Explore Woods, Mini Beasts, which are all bugs and beasties and sustainability.
Yes.
So I incorporate that into other sessions when kids are like kind of like, oh my god, there's a wasp, and I'm like, no, it's a hoverfly. And it's like, how do you know the difference? I'm like, well, because a wasp is actually bigger, and you can see because it has a distinctive tail, whereas a hoverfly is actually smaller, and you can't actually distinguish it. And the kids going, what?
Yeah, and then you're like, this is what.
That will freak most people are like, what the hell? But yeah,
I know.
I'm a bees. I love my bees. I wish I could get a beehive. I'm not allowed a beehive.
No, because then people get weirded out. I'm like with you on like I get that. No, like it's weird for me because I worked with kids with disabilities.
Oh yeah,
and I did it because we're the age where dyslexia really wasn't a thing in the UK to begin with, and it took them so long to catch up. And I had to work, and I didn't want the next generation, like, now that I'm fully grown, I was like, I don't want these kids thinking all adults don't know what dyslexia is, or feeling like, we have to, that we're not putting everything together, that we're not fixing things. And
I was like,
and that's why I went back, and I was like, I'm going to help my friends. Like, I help my friends' kids understand that, we're not different just because our brains are different. And then I started working with kids that had like troubled home lives, and I started working with kids that had autism and ADHD, and I was like, oh my gosh, the world makes so much more sense now. Like, I didn't feel like the oddball that we felt when we were in school, you know?
It's like, kind of like, for me, I was extraordinarily lucky I got diagnosed when I was 10.
I just got my diagnosis last year.
Oh, yeah, I was extraordinarily lucky, because it was really weird when it happened, because I would like come home to my parents and I'd be like, why can't I read, why can't I spell? Yeah, I could tell them I could like literally memorize a story that was read to me and relay it back to them, and they were like, what the heck's going on here? So I got tested by the schools, and they were just like, oh, she's just a bit slow, it's all right.
I got that too, or no, I got she's lazy. So my parents thought I was lazy,
So I got a bit slow, and then one of Mum's work colleagues, I think, was, because Mum was talking, and obviously like, we can't work it out, and she went, take her to the Dyslexia Institute, and they'll do a screening there, and they'll tell you either yes or no. Went through the test, and literally the last turn round, I went, what was the name of the two people who tested Sarah? And they'd rattled them off. I can't remember what it was. She went, right, their reviews are due for their annual reviews soon. They're going to get a telling too, because Sarah is classically dyslexic.
Like, I mean, I think they knew really early for me, but because I stayed in Shetland, they couldn't test me. So I was in that awful situation of, they knew I was, but they didn't know, like, well, how are we going to help Crystal? Like, so they gave me a scribe, and they thought, oh, well, that'll fix the problem. No, it didn't fix the problem, because, you're stuck. You're stuck in that kind of struggle, and you desperately try and make people understand you, and of course they don't understand you. And then when you've got teachers who've never been trained in it, and then they just think you're lazy, it gets worse, because then you just don't want to try. But I was lucky. Like, I was in that awful position. I had to fight for everything. Like, everything to stay in mainstream education, I had to fight for it. I had to fight for every aspect that I went through. And I feel like it's made me understand what other people go through. And at least now, like, when I look at the kids, I'm like, this person will know that I know what's going on. Like, I can safely look at them in the eye and say, hey, chick, I know this is hard. but don't stop fighting because it's not worth it. Like, it's, and I now see it's not like that, and it's so much better, but you still have that moment of, shouldn't they be, they should be talking slightly different. Like, you should be trying to put, raise them up rather than make them feel bad. And I wish that that's gonna be, like, I think something that takes time. We're not at that they fully understand everything part, but they're getting there. They're getting there, and I keep nudging the kids and saying, it's okay. They'll get there. We'll all get there. Just keep going. Like, and I think the great thing about me was they could, and I was using an example to many of the kids. They would be like, oh, look at Crystal. She was dyslexic. Now she's like a full-time author. Like, they used me as an example to almost say to these kids, like, hey, it doesn't matter what you're going through because there is success stories, like, there's serious success stories out there. Like, and I think because they could point at me and be like, there's one, made it so much easier for people. Like, so much easier for people.
Yeah, I must admit, it's like going to conventions and stuff. It's so nice, like, when you find writers or aspiring writers who are like, oh, I could never write it because I'm dyslexic, and I'm like, excuse me, I am as well. And they're like, what? I'm like, I'm dyslexic. Like I said, I got lucky. I got diagnosed very early. I actually started me writing as well because I started writing fan fiction when I was 10 years old. Because of Cats musical. My parents are going to hate me for mentioning that.
See, for you it was Cats musical. For me, it was wrestling and, like, drawing up my own stories for the wrestlers and fixing stories that I saw on TV, and I was like, we all start out doing fan fiction. I mean, there's none of us that hasn't, so.
Yeah. I've actually still got my original Cats fan fictions.
I don't,
because I printed them off at one. I printed them. I thankfully printed them off and had them in a folder.
Yeah.
So the print off's terrible, and they were saved on floppy disks. Showing my age now.
Oh my gosh, same. So I was a floppy disk girl too, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah, 90s babies.
90s babies, yeah. And of course, dial up, internet, yep. People don't realize that. Like, they think, oh, you're 34, you must have had all this tech and stuff. But no, we didn't.
Yep. No, we got there in the first bit and had to work out how the hell to use it. And, like, why does this thing do what it does? And, ooh, I can do this with it. And,
I pull my hair out because I'm like, all the kids think that we've had this technology since we were young like them. And we're like, no, we went to the library. And then they're like, what's the library?
Yeah.
Or what's index? Did you ever get the one where they say what's index cards?
No, I've never had that one.
Oh gosh, I had that one, and I was like, "How do you not know how to use an?" Oh my. Yeah, pain.
It was weird because, like, because index cards to me are more like kind of like a method of planning storylines. And people say, oh, I've got my index card so I can do that. And I'm just like, yeah, sure, that works for you. For me, it does not work. So, because you're always hearing the things of, like, plan out your stories, make sure you know exactly where you're going.
And plotter, yes.
All laid out. Yeah. And personally, as myself, I'm like, I try and have, like, an idea. Like the fantasy epic I'm writing at the moment does actually have a plan. I've already deviated from the plan. I managed to get myself back on the plan, but I've deviated from it.
We all do that. That's just how it is. Like, I plot shit out, and then I'm like, where did I go?
Yeah. I'm like, I normally kind of say I have a starting point, I have an end point, I have a couple of key points I would like to get to. Characters, go that way, please. Yeah, okay, you found a dragon now. Great. I didn't plan on a dragon being in this. Cool, fine, we've got this. Okay, yeah, go over there. Right, okay, can we come back over here, please? Thank you.
And then you're like pulling your hair out because they want to go do something else, and then you're like, oh, for sake.
And then people go, why are you talking like these are real people? It's just like, because, generally characters are real people who live in your head and irritate you at the most inappropriate of times.
I do the one, and you'll understand this, where you're sitting and your friend's talking and you're not wanting to tell them you're bored of the conversation, but your character starts like going, you could be writing me right now. You could be sitting with a nice hot bath, that notepad of yours, writing that scene, making me feel oh so good. And then I'm like, and of course I'm staring off into whatever. Usually it's a person in the corner who gets stared at. Sorry, whoever you are. And my best friend will be like, waving her hand in my eyes, like, hello, are you there? Yeah, that sounds like a brilliant idea. Oh my god, what did I just agree to?
Yeah. I normally get it, so like, kind of like if I'm at work or something like that. It's not as prominent as in my admin job. It was definitely prominent in this outdoor activity. It's like I can't not focusing on what I'm doing. So it used to be that like I used to be sitting there doing some boring old paperwork or filing or something like that, and two characters guaranteed would be having the most interesting conversation in my head, like literally talking away and all this lot. I'd be like, right, I'm going to remember this, and then I would finish up that bit, I would do whatever, I would go home, walk the dog, sort it out, sit down in front of my laptop,
and it's gone.
Guys, gone. I was like,
when I had like, because I worked in a bar, so whenever it happened to be in the bar, they were really nice to let me have a notebook in the bar, and if it was quiet, I would make notes, like I would write notes down, and my manager would send me down to do the stock, to switch all the stock over, right? So I would quickly hurry up, get all the bottles up really quickly, and I'd get all the beer changed over, and then I would sit for 25 to 30 minutes and just write. And then they would stick their head down, and they would think I'm working super hard, and they'd stick their head in the hole, and they'd be like, hey, it's your break time, or it's smoke, because I used to smoke at that time. Oh, it's your smoke break. Boom! I'd be right out, like sitting outside, smoking my cigarette and writing at the same time, or trying to find somewhere that the still open so I can get my dinner, But I loved being at the bar because I got so much inspiration just from the different crazy characters. And I worked in one of those youngish people bars. So at a certain time, all the younger ones come in, and I, of course, I was only a year older than a lot of them, so I'd be like, nope, can't serve you, nope, can't serve you, nope, can't serve you. So I'd clear half the bar so I could then do whatever, make sure everything was done, and do notes and stuff. And I loved it for that. But when I went and I worked in a supermarket, it was different because you weren't allowed a notebook when you were at the checkouts. And that was when the best ideas would come to you because you'd just been talking to all these customers and stuff. Yeah, man, I hate it. Well, you survived the Book and Life podcast. Wasn't that quick?
I did.
Yeah, wasn't that quick?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's the great thing about this show. So we will have you back in 6 to 9 months to hear about your new book and how it goes. It's been an honor having you. Remember to hit me up with your phone number so we can text when you come to Scotland, and I will bring coffee. Definitely. I promise.
Yeah. So anyone who's listening, we're talking about Acme. So if you're at Acme in Scotland, September, I'm there. So come say hi.
Yeah, go say hi. Go get some books, and let's show out Glasgow. Let's do this proper. So yeah. So guys, you want to be coming back next week as we've got another huge guest coming on, and you are not going to want to miss them. But please, everyone remember, don't do anything dangerous while listening to this podcast. Thank you and good night.